If you see it, say what's up. Next up, couple topics to discuss.
Bungee. When I think of that, I think of the ups and the downs. Rapping, doing well. Something as simple as probation, back in prison. Even after coming home from prison and starting this brand, there just still seems to be a lot of ups and downs. Bungee. We got CEO, luxury brand, Daryl Austin.
You know what I mean? Like, my investors trust me and they trust the fact that I have an eye for fashion. It's the business part, and I trust them as businessmen because we're talking about some successful men here. So if I'm trying to be successful and I'm around millionaires and billionaires, why wouldn't I listen to them?
Bungee. Give me the what is.
Bungee is a brand that I created while I was incarcerated, and Bungee stands for all the ups and downs that was going on in my life at the time. And if you think of a bungee jump, you know, when a person jumps off, they go up and down, they bounce up and down off the bungee cord. And that's kind of what I felt like my life was about. It was just about, you know, all the ups and downs. Every time I would accomplish something, I would go back down and have to start all over again. And then, you know, I would bounce back up, do really well, get a lot of success, and the next thing you know, I'm bouncing back down again. So that's what Bungee represents for me, and I know that a lot of other people go through the same type of experiences.
I know that this brand started while you were in prison.
Right.
Can you tell me that pivotal moment in prison that set all of this to be now what it is?
I had a phone call with my mom, and she was crying because it was my third time that I was incarcerated. And she was just like, you have to figure out what you're gonna do with yourself. To hear her cry and to see that she was that upset about the fact that I didn't have any kind of future, it made me go back to the jail cell and I prayed. And after that prayer, you know, I ended up going to sleep for a little bit. Shortly after that, something told me to pick up a pencil and start sketching sneakers. And that was the beginning of Bungee.
So if you're in prison and you get this call to action from above, how did you go about doing this? Where did you acquire these skills? Did you go to school for it, for business, or for
that's
design?
the thing that's funny. I just started designing on my own, and I would walk around the prison yard and just ask other artists, because they would always be out there like sketching stuff like out in the yard, and I would pay them packs of cigarettes to give me lessons on how to draw. And then once I got really good, I actually have some of my artwork over there on the wall. But when I got really good at it, that's when I started to like think to myself, like, man, I can actually make a business out of this. And then I contacted my mom, asked her, you know, to send me some business books to show me how to do like, you know, different presentations and different decks and stuff like that. And that's how I kind of taught myself. Now, I'm not going to say that it was the greatest, but I'm glad that I was prepared, because when I came home, my first investor, that's what he asked for immediately, was a business plan. And I had 3 of them to choose from. So it ended up working out in the long run.
You was ready.
Right. Definitely prepared.
When Bungee did launch, was it a smooth transition into this newfound?
Not at all. Not at all. There's been nothing smooth about Bungee at all. Even like today, you know, like we can have deals on the table that, you know, you think that you're gonna get, and you can think that it's gonna carry you for the rest of your career, and that deal can fall through in typical Bungee fashion. So from the very beginning, I had pitfalls. You know, when I first got my first $50,000 from my investor, I ended up kind of like, I don't want to use the word messing up the money, but I ended up spending it wrong because I wasn't aware of, you know, import-export tax and customs and all that kind of stuff. And by the time I got done like dealing with all that stuff after I placed the order, I almost ran through the 50,000. And then what happened after that was the fact that once I did my actual order, the factory that I used did not give me the shoes the way that they made the sample. So it was hard for me to sell the sneakers. I dealt with a lot of stuff from the very beginning, which was the reason why I ended up going and pivoting to an Eagle sneaker. And once I created that Eagle sneaker, I basically used like the last $10,000 that I had, and that $10,000 turned into, you know, a couple major moves that I made after that. But, you know, it just goes to show that even though you get the money that you think that you need, it doesn't always work.
In that first, you said you got 50K and you weren't aware of how to maneuver in this newfound entrepreneurship.
Right, right.
And no fault to yours that you, again, I don't want to use the word blew, but you used it in a way that you felt as though it was productive. I'm getting this off
For sure. for sure.
That was one of the questions I actually had.
I think what the downfall of that was I just didn't do the proper research.
Okay.
And that's what I try to tell all young entrepreneurs. Do all the research before you try to go out and spend money, because I thought that I knew what I was doing and I really didn't know, because those type of things I just told you about, like customs and customs tax, import export brokers and stuff like that, is something that I should have known. But being as though I was fresh and I didn't know any better, when I placed the order for the samples and I got a couple other things from this factory, they sent it directly to my house. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get this 500 pair of sneakers sent to my house. But that's not how it works. So if I would have did the proper research, I would have never had that problem.
Would you say that's probably the most powerful lesson that you had to learn through trial and error?
Absolutely. And I've also noticed that even when my investors came in, every time we had any kind of meetings, if I didn't know my stuff and do all the research, I was in trouble. Like, you know what I mean? Like, your investors, they don't play because they want to know numbers. They don't really care about how dope your designs are or how many people are following you on Instagram. If they're not talking numbers, then they don't want to hear anything else. So, before I go into my meetings, I have to know how much money's in the bank, how much money did we make over this past, quarter, how much money is needed to be able to get to the next level, how much is my salaries, how much, are we in the red? Like, I need to know all these different numbers. So that's all a matter of research again prior to every meeting that I have.
I would say that's some very good insight for anyone that feels as though they're in this thing called entrepreneurship.
Right.
And they don't take time to go into the books and handle the back end. A lot of the things that will essentially keep the wind in the sails. Because to your point, the boat may look good, but I mean, it's nothing. You got no gas, you have no fuel.
Right.
Or now once we look at these sails, we open them up, it's like, I'm not really trying to blow any wind out here. You're not floating right.
I think a lot of times people just look at, if you have a business, they think you're rich. And if they see that you're doing all these different things, especially in my case, when people see me on the news and they see me doing all these big things, they automatically equate riches or millions. And, even though there were millions involved with the business being, in the process of being flourished, people still have to buy the merchandise. I still have to sell. I still have to sell myself. I still have to sell the business. I still have to make a name for the business. And without those moments, you're not going to really make money. So at the end of the day, like I said, every month when you have that meeting with your investors, they want to know how much money you made. And if you don't make what you projected, it could be a problem. And even though I'm the CEO of my company, I still have people that I have to answer to. So I think that that's what the biggest misconception of having a business is. And I always tell young entrepreneurs that, if you're not ready to have someone to answer to, you're better off trying to create your business without investors. If you're going to create it and you want to have your own say, you're going to have to try to do it on your own. But one of the things that I had to learn very quickly was just the fact that, when you get into business with people, it's a marriage. And, it's a long-term marriage if you're planning on having your business for a long time. It's kind of difficult to be able to get along with every individual that you may be business partners with. But at the end of the day, you need to understand that everyone's goal is to try to have a successful business. Sometimes you have to take your personal thoughts out of it and think as a team member and think about, success of your business rather than, any other type of relationship you may have in that business. But it definitely was a hard piece for me to relate to, because a lot of the business partners that I have are people that I would not normally deal with. So, when you come up with an idea and they're not really feeling your idea, sometimes, things can happen. So a lot of times I would take the back seat even if I thought that I was correct on something.
I want to commend you then, because first off, as a man, it's hard for us to swallow that ego and pride.
For sure.
When it comes to someone telling us our creation, our baby, the thing that we worked on so hard, just either isn't it, or they give us some input that they rightfully can give because of the history or the financial relationship that they have, or financial input. And it just takes a level of maturity, I feel, to be able to swallow that ego and that pride and take this either criticism or input and or suggestions to then move forward.
Yeah, for my brand, I felt like I kind of knew like the direction that I wanted to go in when it came time for like the artistic value of it. Like, when it comes time for the designs, they don't interfere with any of that. You know what I mean? Like my investors trust me and they trust the fact that I have an eye for fashion. It's the business part, and I trust them as businessmen because we're talking about some successful men here. So if I'm trying to be successful and I'm around millionaires and billionaires, why wouldn't I listen to them when it comes time for the business? They may not know what I know as far as fashion is concerned, but they know business. So that's the reason why I'm willing to swallow my pride and take the back seat when it comes time for that aspect of the business.
Awareness of the goal that we're trying to achieve here.
Right.
To be able to then progress this and move forward. One thing you said was to try and sell my brand. Can you give me some struggles during that beginning process? Because I highly doubt that anyone just starts something brand new, especially a sneaker brand. Like people are committed to wearing.
Yeah, right. I'm about to give you the perfect scenario that you're gonna be able to relate to the fullest. You ready for this one? Mm-hmm. All right, just imagine you have a guy that you've been cutting for 5 years. Yep. He comes to you every week, every other week, once a month, whatever it is. He trusts your hand. He loves everything about what you're doing. And then next week, you have a new barber that just started that no one knows. And this new barber is in there in the chair. And this guy that's been, coming to you for the last 5 years, he's not going to just automatically just run and jump in that new guy's chair when he never saw this new guy in action.
Right.
You agree, right?
Right.
It's the same exact thing with branding. It's like everyone knows these certain sneaker brands. If they go into Foot Locker, Neiman Marcus, any type of store that you're going to go after the brand that you know the most, the one that's been cutting you for years. You're not going to automatically just jump right into this new person's chair. And again, that's just how I look at, fashion. So I had to go about like, when you're a young barber, you may have to cut a couple kids because the parents don't really trust you with their hair. They'll put their kids in there because they're in a hurry. So now when you get that little kid in the chair, you got to really lace him up to make the father want to jump in your chair. You understand what I'm saying? So at that point, that's when you got to start trying to give things away. That's when you got to try to get like famous people to wear your stuff or even influential people in your neighborhood. Once these people start to see, it's equivalent to you having a person in the chair and everyone's in the barbershop watching you cut. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's how I kind of equated everything. So once I started to get like celebrity clientele, I got Bernard Hopkins, got Jazzy Jeff, got a couple different people to wear my stuff. That's when it kind of made it okay for everyone else to be, oh, okay, well, if these guys are wearing it, then it must be okay. Right. You know what I mean? So, but, when it comes time for like, people that are around the way that's starting their clothing brand and they just started it or whatever and they have a couple friends and family wearing it, some people are cool with that. But when you're trying to get to that next level and you're trying to be up in major stores and you're trying to be like a major brand, you're going to need more than just your friends and family wearing your merchandise.
For sure. Now, you mentioned Foot Locker and Neiman Marcus. I know that's where you can go and find a lot of these kicks that, what's this right? This is my personal favorite.
Yeah, that's the TNC2s. Yeah.
It's TNC2, tan. Now, how long have they been in Neiman Marcus? How long?
We did an official launch in Neiman Marcus. They actually sold pretty well there. But they only lasted in there for about a month, if that.
Okay. And then you did the Foot Locker deal.
Yeah, the Foot Locker deal was totally different shoes. They're actually not in front of us right this particular moment, but we did a deal with them, and they're actually still carrying our merchandise right now. You just have to go to like certain stores to be able to find them, but you can go to footlocker.com and find them as well.
This aspect of self-efficiency and working to strive for what you believe in, what keeps that motivation?
I think I'm trying to do everything possible to try to stay away from the streets. I just don't want to go to jail anymore. I've been through a lot. I tried to be a rap star, tried to be, an entrepreneur in the past, and everything that I did, I was actually successful at it, but the success didn't last long because I did illegal things to get there. So what my primary goal is right now is just to try to do things the right way. And as I've been doing them the right way, I've been getting much more success than ever. I definitely feel like, at the end of the day, my motivation is I got to take care of my family. I got to help others. And what I mean by helping others, I mean by, stopping these kids from making the same mistakes as me and also helping other entrepreneurs to get to the level that I'm at. I have a lot of things riding on me right now in order for me to be successful because I have a lot to give back.
It's very commendable. On behalf of the people that you do it for, I thank you.
Man.
Because there's a lot of men that don't take into consideration that they are a role model in what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that was a hard piece for me because I didn't understand the whole role model thing for me. Because I looked at it where it was like, I'm just a regular dude. You know what I mean? I went to prison and, I made some sneakers. What's so special about that? And, I kept saying that and kept saying that. And then people kept saying, well, how many other people went to prison and came out and did what you did? You know what I mean? How many people came out of prison and ended up on national TV talking about a business that they created? So once I started to think about those things, that's when I was like, well, damn, maybe, I was blessed in certain things and I got to stop thinking like I'm just a regular dude that came home from prison. And that's what kind of opened my eyes. And then, we get DMs all the time. We get, messages, emails and stuff like that from people that are inspired by what it is that I'm doing. So that's when I realized how quickly I went from being a regular former inmate that came from prison to being a role model.
Solid. With that said, could you give me any pitfalls that stand out to you during this journey that's still going?
I have so many pitfalls that I could say I don't even know where to begin.
How about one that molded everything that you do now from from a perspective of, ouch, that's hot. Hey, I'm not doing that no more.
One of the things that I could say is sometimes you need to slow down and get some mentors around you that's been there and done that. And instead of you trying to think that you're going to change the wheel, try to rock out what they're saying and listen to what they're saying before you just jump out there and make some mistakes. That's the best way that I can tell you, because I had a couple of different people that were telling me the ways to go, and I had to go my own way and get stung before I realized that if I would have listened to him, I wouldn't have had to go through this.
Again, to my earlier point, would you say it was pride?
I wouldn't say that it's pride. I wouldn't say that. I would say I don't know, I couldn't explain it for anyone else, but I could say for me.
Well, yeah, for yourself.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't pride. It was more, I think I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And it's like, in my mind, I feel like this is what it is that I want to do. This is how I want to do it. This is how I want to roll it out. And a lot of times people are like, you can't do that. So I know you're trying to figure out an example, right? Mm-hmm. I'll give you the perfect example. I designed a sneaker. The sneaker that I designed, I felt like I know for a fact this is going to work. I want it to look like this. I want it to feel like this, and I want this type of material. I have a mentor named Rob Hervey that's been in the sneaker business for 35 years. He's telling me it's impossible for you to be able to do a shoe like this and be able to move around in it because of the materials that you're choosing. Choose a different material that's going to be a little bit more flexible. Me not, trying to hear that, I'm fighting tooth and nail trying to make sure that I get what I want. And I did it anyway. And when I did it, I sell it to people, and the first thing that people are selling is this isn't a comfortable shoe. But if I listened to him from the very beginning, none of that would have happened. So, but fortunately, for me, those sneakers actually sold out anyway. So I don't have them anymore. Right. But it's just the fact that, the design part, I had it down, but I should have left it up to him to help me with the aesthetics of it since he's been in the business for so long.
Right.
So that's one good example that I can give you. Sometimes you need to listen to your mentors.
Yeah, I can say that I've in my journey of owning a barbershop and creating a platform, my mentors are the ones that have definitely aided in me navigating the roadmap. To your point of if they're rich or if they have what you have or they've acquired a certain level of success, you would have to be a fool. I feel as though you would have to be a fool to not engage in this conversation and now retain. I'm here to validate what you said. If you can tune in to people that can tell you where the pitfalls and bumps in the road are, then you probably should do so. So one thing I have noticed, so in a lot of your interviews, you carry the same theme of maintaining your truth and the roots while balancing adaptability along this path and this journey. Right. So how has 2024, how has this tested that theme for you? And then in that same breath, what is some advice that you can give to a fellow young Black entrepreneur that is facing some uncomfortable moments or uncomfortable situations in this corporate area?
Well, that was a lot too, by the way. I liked how you phrased all that. The first thing I can say is in 2024, I had to basically teach myself that pivoting into something else is not bad. I came into this with a goal in mind, and I wanted to try to be the next Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and stuff like that. And we were making way, but what happened was I ended up realizing that there was a space that was out there for luxury sportswear for fans that I definitely had, some type of skill set in creating, and it ended up working out for the better for us. So that was the hard pill to swallow, because I really didn't want to like stop doing Bungee Opportunity. And I'm not saying I did stop it, but it's just the fact that I'm focusing on something else right at the moment. And to answer your question about what advice I would have to give these young entrepreneurs, it's a two-part answer to that. The first thing, depending on where these entrepreneurs are coming from, when they come from the street world that we're used to, they have a tendency of not wanting to listen, because they think that they have to go into this corporate world as a street person. And one of the things that I learned is all the rules that I learned about, being a street guy, those rules don't apply in corporate at all. One of the main things that you know when you're in the streets is no snitching. I've been snitched on 1,000,000 times in corporate. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I can't even tell you how deceitful people are and how backstabbing people are in this corporate world, that you wouldn't be able to get away with that in the streets. And I had to kind of figure out that, the street angle is not the way to approach corporate business. You know what I mean? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is, like I was telling you, just make sure, for a young entrepreneur, that you do all the research. Even when you think that you know everything, go back and double check and do more. Because the more research that you know, and the more, things that you know about your business, the better off you're going to be when it comes time for launching your business. To me, that's like the hardest part. Because, once you think, oh, I'm going to do this brand and it's going to be called such and such, you don't really take that much time to figure out who you're going to be selling this brand to, who's actually going to buy it. Everyone that starts a clothing brand, even when it's not a high-end luxury brand, they say that it's a high-end luxury brand. And you have to understand, one of the things that I had to find out the hard way was, I'm trying to create this brand that is like a high-end luxury brand, but I'm not realizing that the people that wear these type of brands are not going to wear big logos on their chest. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So people that wear these $300 t-shirts, they don't want a big logo across their chest. So it's like, I had to learn how to design clothes without putting logos on it. So that's when I started to create the suit of armor with the Eagles sweatshirt that I designed. Mm-hmm. It was more of the aesthetics and everything that comes along with that jersey over, the name.
Fire, might I add, where we at? Fire. Yeah. Eagles, the armor jewel.
Yeah,
throw that right there, editor. Right. But go ahead.
So I had to learn how to design without having logos all over it. Because if you think about a brand new brand, and then we're just going to talk about brands, like clothing brands, people automatically just get a sweatshirt and just throw their name across the chest. And then you're going to say that, you have this high-end luxury brand, and you're thinking that you have this high-end luxury brand because you named it a high-end luxury name. And a lot of times you're not doing the proper research to find out what materials make something high-end. You can't just go get a little Hanes sweatshirt and put, a rich name on the front and think that you have a high-end brand. And I see that all the time. It's like, I just really want people that are trying to start their own clothing brands to do more research and find out what it is. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example of what I did. When I did my research, when I decided I wanted to do a high-end brand, and this was actually suggested to me by Bernard Hopkins. We took a trip to Neiman Marcus. We took a trip to, Saks Fifth Ave. We went to all these different places, and we looked at the merchandise that they had there. Not only did I look at the merchandise that they had there, I went and did further research, and I ended up finding out what this T-shirt was made out of. What were these sneakers made out of? What was the fabric? What were the material? And then you incorporate that stuff into your brand. So you don't want to say that you have a high-end brand, and then you're going to a wholesale spot and you buying some T-shirts, you know what I mean, that are just, 50% polyester, 50% cotton. Right. That's not a high-end T-shirt. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So these are the lessons that I would teach someone that's coming into the business that's trying to figure out what's what. And also, besides that, everyone's going for the high-end brand, but it's like, if I could do mine all over again, I would have went the low end, because it's easier to get, it's cheaper for you to get, you need less money. And if you try to get into a Walmart, Target, or something like that, that's way more stores that you can be in just by dealing with one chain, And then if you look at the level of competition in a Walmart or a Five Below or something like that, look at the type of clothes that are in there. So if you're a real designer, you can make something really dope for them type of stores.
People clown Shaq.
Yeah.
Shaq eating.
Yeah, I remember when they was clowning Shaq. I was one of the ones that was clowning Shaq. Now I'm wishing that I was in Shaq's shoes. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, everyone wants to be able to have that high-end brand. They want to be in music videos. They want to have their favorite artists wearing them. But it's like, you know, I got to that point, and when you get to that point, it's so expensive that people just can't afford to do it. So you really want to try to figure out, you know, a price range that, you know, the average person is going to be able to do it. So then if you think about it from a different angle, you know, if you have, let's say, a pair of sneakers that cost $225 and LeBron just dropped his shoe and your shoe is in Foot Locker at the same price, which shoe they going to go after? They're going to go after LeBron before they go after a no-name. So that's the reason why you really want to try to make sure that, you know, you know what you're doing and you figure out how you're going to market and promote your product. Oh, so I have a mirror here, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Check him out.
Okay.
Hold that.
Okay, yeah, I see you.
I mean,
Yeah.
Slight cleanup.
I'm impressed. Yeah.
All right.
Fade
First
is
time-
on point.
First time somebody cut you in about 30 years.
Yeah. Part sharp. I like it. Yeah. Okay. I like you. Now you're gonna have a customer trying to blow you up. You gonna be like, I got appointments. I gotta do interviews. Nah, I need to get in the middle of one of those interviews.
Yeah. Gotta sit down.
Yeah. That's what's up though. I like it, man, for real. For real. And a lot of people don't know how to cut my hair, which is the reason why I started doing it myself.
Anyone that's out there that may be looking to start anything, it may not be a business, the ability that you were able to overcome a lot of things that you just shouldn't have been able to overcome if you read it on paper.
Right.
I feel like hopefully is enough to give whoever's watching this enough inspiration of, well, maybe I should start whatever that was, or the small hurdles that I have is nowhere near what he had to go through.
Right.
So
I think for the most part, for people that's trying to start their own business, the hardest part is just getting started. Because a lot of people have great ideas, but they're afraid to fail. And I know for me, after I failed 10 times, I still keep pushing. Like, I'm not going to allow something like that to make me feel like I can't do something. I just have to figure it out, make it better, fix it, and keep pushing.
Right.
So, but I know for a fact the very first shoot that I did, people were laughing at me. And now those same people that are laughing at me are congratulating because we made it to the shelves with Neiman Marcus. You guys need to make sure that you check my man out because this fade is sitting there, and you know he gave you the mic, you know, the clipper mic. This man, he knows what he's doing. Clipper mic.
Got
mic.
to. It's
Check
on
him
pace.
out.
It's on pace. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really
Dig.
good. Really good.
Fucking bungee brace, sneakers, clothes, and power. Respect the man on the move. Pop up wherever they can't park us. Bungee everywhere from Foot Locker to Neiman Marcus. Chopp.